Good
Welcome to
morning.
Cornerstone Confessions. It's that time, David Wicker.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Happy
Yes,
Wednesday.
yes, happy Wednesday. And today we're talking subsidized housing for you investment property owners out there. So, David, you're the expert at this. What do they need to know?
All right, here we go. Obviously, needs of smaller communities and city communities, subsidized housing is becoming a larger need and a larger consequence of economics, I guess. What we're finding is it is a difficult market to ensure the rental space for that. And there's a number of reasons that the carriers have some issues. A couple of them can unfortunately tend to be that the landlords do not do good keep up on the properties. So property maintenance, updates of all the utilities and stuff are not properly maintained only because rents tend to be on the lower side. So the rate of return for the landlord is not as good as it should be. They can't reinvest in the property. That's obviously a huge red flag for claims to a carrier.
Sure,
Um, Unfortunately, the tenant profile, we are working with tenants who are on fixed income, lower income. They tend to not be able to maybe be apt to take out renters insurance, which of course would help subrogate if something happened, or even
sure,
cover them if they have to leave. We discussed that on some earlier episodes as well. Um, the properties and the properties themselves tend to be claim adverse. A lot more trip and fall claims, a lot of tenant claims. Uh, they can tend to have a lot more just fire claims, bad cooking habits, just poor living habits can affect and cause claims that do concern carriers.
sure.
Um,
So
there,
what are investment owners to do? I mean, is it
well,
something to
it's
avoid altogether or
Well, they're obviously it's not something that we hope that they would avoid because certainly we care about people and there's a need,
they
but
need it and right?
the insurance does change. The markets do change. It is not something that we can put with our everyday carriers that we tend to do. The cost of these policies are do incrementally increase to get proper coverage. Goes back to again multiple episodes before Angela, that rate of return, doing the math.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that tends to be on my side of the house a bigger concern is we have properties that we've insured for 10, 20 years. And if our client doesn't advise us that they have switched over to helping assisted living and subsidized housing and they experience a claim, we now have the exposure. Our client has the exposure where without divulging the circumstances, so to speak, of their tenants, we could experience claim denials, and that would certainly not be beneficial to anybody.
Right.
So,
So if you're an investment property owner and you've changed up your tenant profile, you want to get in touch with your insurance carrier,
yeah, please
your
do.
broker, if it's an independent broker, for example, like CH Insurance, and keep them in the know, keep them in so they can be in your
Yeah,
corner. I mean,
absolutely.
what I'm hearing, David, is that exposure can be quite significant, and nobody wants to be in that position. That's why you have insurance,
Yes,
right? But
it
you have
is
to
why
have
we
the
have
right
insurance.
insurance.
Exactly. You got to have the right insurance and we got to do the math. And, if you're thinking you already have a property and you want to switch to that format, we should have a conversation. If you're calling me raw new, hey, I'm buying this building and I'm assuming the leases and stuff. Well, please tell me what, sometimes, we don't ask questions, again, about the tenants. There's a lot of assumptions. So it's a big conversation to have. We're seeing more and more of it in our space here in Central New York. And, again, we just want to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Got it. I got it. All right. And so for you investment property owners, you can go back. We're here every Wednesday. David is, whether he's with me here in the studio, the virtual studio, or out on the streets with investment property owners on the scene, so to speak. There's lots of good information here for you. And as always, David, I know you and the entire team at CH Insurance is in
In
your
your
corner.
corner.
That's right. Okay. We'll see you next Wednesday, David.
Thank you, Angela.
Welcome back. Every Wednesday, we do a Cornerstone Confession with our investment property owner expert at CH Insurance, David Wicker. Hey, David, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday again, Angela. How are you today? Oh,
Doing great. It's beautiful fall season, and it's one of our favorite times of year in upstate New York, right?
yeah, I was talking with somebody about going out and doing pumpkins and apple picking and going
It's that
to
time.
Beak and Skiff here in central New York and
There
getting
you
our apple
go.
fritters.
Oh gosh, it sounds so good, and it's so beautiful out there in that part of the world too. So,
Absolutely.
yes, so we last week we talked about subsidized housing and what
Yeah.
investment property owners need to know to
Yep.
avoid the pitfalls, and there
Yep.
are some, right, with subsidized
Yes.
housing. This week we're touching on student housing. So the students, they're back in session, they're in full swing in the middle of they're probably going into midterms here shortly, I would think, if they haven't already.
Yeah.
So what do investment property owners need to know in order to ensure that you can be in their corner and block and tackle as you need to for their insurance for student housing?
Yeah, it's definitely a takeoff of last week's subsidized housing. So student housing, student housing is rated differently by carriers. Not every carrier likes student housing. It poses its own risk and exposures. Obviously, we have Lemoyne College, we have Syracuse University. Go Orange tomorrow, hopefully, or this weekend, I should say. But yeah, it's they everything has its own experience or experience and rating issues. Obviously, with student housing, we have younger, inexperienced on their own tenants. Um, they don't necessarily know how to cook. Per se, so they become cooking hazards in
Higher
many
risk.
cases, higher
Yeah.
risk. Overcrowding where you might have a lot of kids in one space or one house. Unfortunately, I think we've all been there, but you tend to see more parties and alcohol related things and social events. Just a lot of traffic in and out. I mean, it is the college life. Um,
Yes.
all of those all those experiences that they're gaining are unfortunately higher exposures and higher risks. We have some great carriers that'll do student housing. They adjust their coverages, they adjust their premiums accordingly to make sure that they're still within the space that they need to be. But again, it's just goes back to how are the properties maintained, the utilities maintained. Again, we just have young kids living out on their own for the first time, and maybe their just general habits of taking care of a property is not what it should be.
Right. Well, in most cases, I mean, let's a common sense says that it's probably not going to be, right? It's just not.
uh,
Yeah, unless I mean, maybe they helped cut the lawn back at home. Maybe they, who knows, right?
yeah.
Shoveled sidewalks in the wintertime. But by and large, now they're at college and, life is all about being carefree and hopefully maybe some studies in between.
Yeah, I think
So,
responsibility is probably not on the top
yeah,
of their
thinking
list.
about where you're living and taking great care of it is probably not a top priority. So David, what is an investment property owner to do? They're to reach out to you.
Yeah,
I put a phone number up here. We also
absolutely.
had your email on there as well. Now it's .cc, y'all out there, so it's not .com. Make sure it's .cc, yes, and you can email you, David. What's the first step? So what do? You do a consult on the phone? Do you ever hop
Yep.
on Zooms with
Zooms,
clients?
Zooms, Teams. I don't know
Yeah,
what language you use anymore, but
right.
yeah, phone calls. Give me an address. Tell me what you're planning on doing. Call us obviously if you're an existing client and you're planning on switching over to that format. We want to again make sure you're insured properly so that in the event of a claim, we don't see a claim denial because we didn't have you properly listed with the carrier as the exposure.
So in other
Um,
words, you were renting to, ordinary tenants, et cetera, in that sense, not categorized in any sense, and you've switched over to like what we covered last week,
yeah,
subsidized housing, or you switched to student housing. You change that tenant profile in a marked way. Your insurance should be changing to reflect that.
and we say this over and over till we're blue in the face. Let's just have a conversation. And figure out the best solution.
Right. Unfortunately, we know this too. Sometimes people learn it the hard way,
Yeah, yeah,
and CH is in your corner to ensure that that doesn't happen. It doesn't
yeah.
have to happen. Doesn't have to
It's
be that way. Yeah.
no, I mean, it's and, and I think I said this before, but, Joe Senior, the founder of CH Insurance, and Joe Junior, our president now, you know, it our clients always seem to find where our real value is at the time of a claim, but boy,
Yeah.
that's the
When
worst,
we need you the most.
but
Yeah.
that's also the worst time to find out where we do our value. So, making sure that we have you properly insured should make that unfortunate circumstance go as smoothly
A
as
little
possible.
easier to come out on
Yeah.
the other side of it as
Yep.
whole as possible. Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you
Absolutely.
so much, David. Enjoy your apple picking and
Absolutely.
your apple pies. And how many things apple can you have, right? Not enough. So
I'll
enjoy.
let you know next week how many Apple things I did.
You're all and happy fall.
Happy fall. Have a great day.